Greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. Isaiah Phillip is a finance professional. He was recently appointed to the post of Vice Curator, World Economic Forum, Global Shapers Hub for 24-25. He joins us now to share a story of resilience that is still being written. Hi, Mr. Phillip, how are you doing?
Hi, DK. I'm fine. How are you doing today?
I'm all right, thank you. But I'm a little curious in the sense that my dad taught maths. Well, maths phys chem. I try to run from maths as far as possible. What are some of the points along the way that led to you deciding, okay, well, this is where I want to be in terms of like being a finance professional? And I think you also recently made a move within the sector itself.
Yes. So initially, I always thought growing up that I'd like to study law because your parents are always pushing you in that direction. And I got the opportunity to complete an internship at Hamel-Smith at the age of like 16. And I was like, I don't think this is particularly for me because it was mostly reading, and I honestly didn't enjoy reading that much. So accounting was always the second option, but I didn't like the idea of sitting down behind a desk all the time just looking at numbers per se. And I had a dream, weirdly enough, where I was helping businesses to explore financing opportunities. And based on this dream is where I kind of did some research about finance. A lot of people, when I tell them I'm doing finance, they think of accounting, but finance is completely different from accounting because it deals with so much more as to how companies could invest, how persons could invest, different options as to securing capital to expand your business, and so much more. So that's essentially how I got into finance. And I saw we had a perfect program called Banking and Finance Special during it was like through the evening university program, which was good for me because I couldn't really afford to go to school full time. So that way I had the opportunity to work while going to school on the afternoon to obtain my degree.
And you saying things, and there are a few things that I want to dive a little deeper into. One, I really like the fact that you were able to have an experience that then impacted how it is you decided to go about further building capacity. Because I think many times people come out of school and then we're looking for experiences to say, okay, well, I like this, no, I don't like this. And there's this very small window between coming out of school and then people say, well, you're supposed to be earning, you're supposed to be doing this, you're supposed to be doing that, where you're kind of worthless. But there was also that switch because moving from helping people, because you're still helping people, but mortgage finance to securities regulation. What was the reason for that?
Oh, that was a really hard decision because the mortgage finance company provided so much opportunities in regards to learning and growth, as well as I really liked the idea of helping customers. Like customer service is something that is embedded in me. And the securities industry kind of goes back to that dream that I had at a young age, in that I would be helping businesses to secure capital. So the securities industry that I'm in now allows me to, more from a compliance point of view, see how what are the various regulations within Trinidad and Tobago impacting the capital market as well as the growth of the capital market. So I was really excited once I got that opportunity. It was a tough decision, but I was able to weigh the pros and cons and eventually make it.
Some people may say that you weighed good pros and cons because in terms of compliance, procurement, this is a wave that a lot of people are riding now and trying to get themselves in line in terms of building capacity so they can enter the field, but you're already there and making your mark. But tell me a little bit about the support structure, please, because it's one thing to say, okay, well, people are pushing you in a direction, but you also had, you said this was the second point. So in terms of like who was behind you saying, okay, well, yes, go, or you can do it, or you say you're going and do this, so don't stop now?
So most of my aunties still look out for me to go into law, but I had a big support system in that I have, I believe it's like six great aunts. One aunt that is the sister of my mom. My mother was a single mother, but one thing that she did for pushing us is just allowing us to explore options. And she would always just, once it's positive options, she would be there to allow us to go into that. So she didn't. My mother is the only person that didn't really have a career in mind for me. She just know that Isaiah will do well, no matter where he goes or which direction he goes in, and I would be there to support. And knowing that she would always be there, always allowed me to make decisions and trusting in myself as well. But my family, per se, they like the idea of law. Most Caribbean households like the idea of legal or the doctor point of view. So I think now that they're seeing what I'm doing in finance, they kind of getting behind the idea of, oh, finance is a plausible career, investment is a plausible career as well.
But where you are, you haven't stopped. You're continuing. Why try to advance yourself and get more paper if you're already liking where you are in terms of work or the work field, workforce?
So one thing I'm passionate about is upskilling or reskilling. And even within myself, I don't believe that you should settle in any career, that you should always be open to learning new things. Like continuous learning is important because you never know when you'd have to pivot, especially in the age of AI where computer is able to do so much things for us. You don't want to put yourself and your job at risk. So you always have to be able to know how to advance yourself and put yourself to the next level.
One of the things I like to ask is in terms of, yes, it's good to upskill, reskill. Do you have an idea what you're going to take those talents, those newly found talents, or these certificates and work on? In the sense that this is how I'm going to use it when it is there, or this is how I'm already using it with the classes that I'm in already.
For me personally, through a program I recently did with the Global Shapers community, which was focused on equipping young persons with essential skills, as well as reflecting on my career thus far, I noticed that all in all, what I like to do is help and pass on knowledge. So, with whatever knowledge I acquire, or I would always like to be in a position where I'm equipped with enough knowledge to pass on to someone else in any industry or field. So, I think the continuous growth naturally is just a matter of being able to pass on and assist other people in developing themselves.
And so we spoke about it in the, well, I spoke about it in the intro, and you just mentioned the word. So, you can't get away. You need to start to give us some explanations. So, in terms of like this global shapers, what is it? What is it about? Give us a little overview, thanks.
So the Global Shapers is an initiative by the World Economic Forum. There's over 500 hubs globally, located some within the Caribbean countries, such as there's a hub in Guyana, a hub in Barbados, St. Vincent, and so on. Here, within all the hubs, even within Trinidad and Tobago, the idea behind it is youth empowering as well as exploring and creating initiatives to develop both themselves as well as the nation or the country which they operate within. So we do work that relates to impact, whether it be like the project I recently did called Unlocking Potential, or work revolving around climate action. We recently did kind of like a speed friending, but surrounding the idea of climate change, where persons with ideas as it pertains to solving the climate issues that we face within the Caribbean could come up with ideas as well as network with people to develop and bring these ideas to life. So it's just about action and creating change within your local country and done by youths because most of us are under the age of 30.
With that, we're going to take a short break when we come back because I don't want you to give me a short answer. And then I say, oh no, we need to take a break. Hold on, hold on, hold on. So we're going to be talking about unlocking potential, empowering youth for a brighter future. We're doing so with Isaiah Phillip, a finance professional, and so much more. Stay with us. We'll return after this. welcome back. We are having a conversation with Isaiah Phillip, and there is some, and I think unlocking potential is something that can be used to describe you as well, Isaiah, from the little that I've heard thus far. Because I also want to go back to the point that I didn't share yet, that I would have seen or heard about you from a post on X. So I'm saying thank you to the young lady. Actually, let me call her name, Kimmy Saul Robinson, who would have
Yes.
reposted your post and made me say, nah, man, I think we need to have a conversation with this young man. So even before we get into what that post was about, give me a little idea about unlocking potential. Thank you.
So something I didn't mention before in the interview is I'm actually from Beetham Gardens. I would have spent the first 25 years of my life there, and I'm 26 now. I'm now transitioning into a new home. And from the community, I think we have a lot of challenges that us as youth face that prevents us from looking at the wider scope. That is what the world has to offer or what universities have to offer. I knew as to university from the point of view as when you finish school, you're going to UE. Like UE was in my mind, there wasn't anything outside the spectrum of UE. And I knew that the problem I would have had was funding, and Gates would have aided in covering that problem if I attended UE. But there's grant opportunities that could be explored and all these other options to go to schools internationally that would provide you with the same quality as education as UE, but different cultural experiences as well. And I was unaware of this. And this program, Unlocking Potential, I was able to discuss it with the Global Shapers team. And there was one person within the team that was really passionate about it as well, because she was enrolled at a younger age within a similar program that aided in her career tremendously. So both of us, as well as other members of the team, would have come together and kind of tighten up on the idea as to how we want to present this to the public. Who do we want to target mainly? And our target audience will Form 5 and Form 6 students who would just be leaving school and would be considering different career options, as well as from vulnerable areas or underserved communities, because they may have the same background as me and that they're unaware of all the opportunities that exist that they can explore. So we want to open up their minds and unlock their full potential to exploring these opportunities that the world has.
Who are some of the other stakeholders, and what are some of those main things that you would have gone through in terms of, I believe, like workshops? What are some of the themes of the workshops?
So for the program to come to life, well, the Global Shapers is an NGO, so we rely heavily on sponsorship in order to bring most of the initiatives to life. We would have reached out to NALIS in order to secure a location, and the first school that we would have targeted was Diego Martin North Secondary School. So we were particularly trying to reduce barriers to persons attending the workshops. And given most of the students were from Diego Martin, we were ideally looking for a location within the Diego Martin community. And the new Diego Martin Public Library was ideal given that it's like 5 minutes away from the school, but within the hometown of most of the participants. We were able to get sponsorship from NCB Merchant Bank, First Citizens Bank, the Marcy Foundation, as well as Restaurants Holding Limited. Oh, and UTC provided funding as well as they facilitated one of the workshops, which was financial literacy. That is something close to my heart, in that I know the importance. Like a lot of people you'd see on TikTok or X talking, I wish in Form 5 or Form 6 I had learned how to budget, how to save, how to develop good saving habits. And the UTC were able to come into the program and teach the participants about all these things and more, which we appreciated so much. Some of the other things that we covered was, well, this one was pretty novel, digital literacy, where we had the owner and CEO of Smart Kids, TT, Sarah Bernard. She came in and she provided laptops for the workshop, where she taught as to the impact of AI, how AI is changing things, especially within the field of like careers, and how you could use AI to your benefit, but how AI could also be harmful, and how to limit or mitigate these harms of AI. She did a brief introduction to coding as well, which many of the students were excited about. They learned how to create an image like roses and lilies with coding, which was pretty exciting. I myself was really intrigued by it. Some of the other workshops we cover were things like communication and conflict resolution. Because coming out of school, especially, you don't really learn how to communicate in a healthy way that would benefit both yourself and the other recipient in a conversation, as well as navigating disagreement. And I feel like this is a big thing that is needed within Trinidad and Tobago for all of us to learn how to navigate disagreement in a way that is diplomatic and would result in a healthy agreement or disagreement to the end of the situation. So we had someone from the Institute or the Caribbean Institute for Conflict Resolution come in and facilitated that workshop. We didn't just want to teach them about job opportunities, but entrepreneurship is something that is really important for youths, especially the Gen Z, starting their own business. So we did have a entrepreneur come in and discuss with them some of the advantages and disadvantages of starting your own business, the challenges that you might face. So this one was facilitated by Logan Stewart, who is the CEO of Bertie's Pepper Sauce. So he was able to help us tremendously in like putting forward this idea of entrepreneurship, but also that being an entrepreneur takes hard work, it takes resilience, like most other things in life. And for the participants to know this.
And I am sitting listening to the breadth and scope of this program, Pause Reason, Isaiah, and I don't want to say feeling a little jealous, but I really appreciate it. Seems as though a lot of intention was placed into it, a lot of thought. And what kind of feedback were you getting from some of the participants?
I think one of the things we were looking at is return attendance because with young people, it's really hard to keep them engaged. And it was 4 weeks of workshops. So it wasn't just a one day and goodbye. It was to come back out every single Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And a lot of young people value their Saturday mornings to rest as well. And we were able to have the participants show up every single day, re energized to come back out and learn more. And that was really something that we were scared of at first because we was like, what if they don't come back out? That's a heavy risk. But it showed that they were interested in what they had to learn. And we hope that the participants would be able to benefit from it bravely. But we don't intend to leave them just yet. In that we created an email address where our participants could be in constant communication with the Global Shapers community as to if they notice they reach a barrier or a really hard decision in their career, or they know that they want to jump careers into a different field, we could connect them within someone within that industry that they're interested in to get a little bit of insight as to how this may be beneficial, what are some of the pros of this career choice, and so on.
Really something to look at and something to appreciate. But you said 25 years and then 1 year transition out, so that's 26 years. Many people at your age trying to plant the flags in the sand and organize for themselves. Why is it so important that you are trying to bring forth this group of people with you, not just doing for yourself, but also doing for others?
I think it's because it's something I wish that I personally have. Like a lot of decisions that I had to make while my mom was there and she was supportive of, she wasn't in a position to kind of like provide me with in depth details or pointers. So for me, even with the recent job changing, I haven't developed like a mentor relationship with anyone for myself. I probably would have received advice over the years, but I don't personally have a mentor. And I feel like this is something that I would have benefited from tremendously. And I would like people to benefit from it as early as possible or to see the importance of it as early as possible so that way it changes the trajectory of their lives and it creates people that are able to create a positive impact, not only for themselves or their communities, but the country as a whole. I think your mic is muted, Mike.
Yes, and going back to the fact that you said originally from Beetham, or Beetham Gardens, what are some of the positives that is that something that would have had helped to drive you further? Is that something that would have placed more barriers towards you? What does it, that experience and how does it factor in to who you are at this point in time?
I think when it comes to my community, like I didn't learn that my community was negatively viewed by the public for many years because I resided within the community of Beetham. I went to Success RC Primary School, which is right across the road from the community. So I didn't have like, what is the view of external persons on my community? So my community to me was always something of to be proud of. And then you enter secondary school or the working environment and you start to hear all the things that people see as to your community, and you start to wonder as to how this may have impacted me. But I don't think living in Beetham would have provided much hindrance. Most of like my aunts, when guiding me, they were like, just be sure not to put your address on your resume, type of situation, because they know how discrimination as well as stereotype as it relates to the community impacts persons from the community from exploring opportunities. But I still was able to like present myself as a resident of the Beetham and be able to do impactful work and be productive and show people that yes, within Beetham Gardens, we do have productive citizens who are able to come out here and perform just as anybody else or better.
With that, how do people contact you to be part of the work that you're doing to help carry it to put some to gas it a little bit to help move some of those efforts forward initiatives? Because you said you're not leaving people alone in terms of that first cohort that you would have been dealing with unlocking potential. How do people help? How can people help?
Well, they could connect with me on any social media. My first name, Isaiah, last name, Phillip, singular, no S to the end. So I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Instagram, there's just a dot between the first name and last name. And they could feel free to reach out with any questions that they may have as to the program, but any aid that they may be able to provide in regards to future mentorship opportunities as we look to advance the program into a second cohort and hopefully annual project that the Global Shapers would be able to do.
I want to thank you so much for the work that you are doing, Isaiah, both on yourself and the collective, the cohorts that you're dealing with. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, we want to thank you for making the time. This has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you so much for joining us.